cold. Right. 5 o'clock on the dot. Amazing. I'm coming over here because it is freezing, and I'm going to sit closer to the heater. Right. Yeah, the door's noisy because the camera is right beside the door on the wall. Okay, let's see what I've got here. Sizzle's doing fine. So we had the vet out this morning, or middle of the day, and she's going to go to her own vet on Wednesday. And she's just a bit under the weather. There's nothing that actually jumps out as if to say, oh, look, you know, she's in discomfort, she's in pain, she's in this, that, and the other. So she'll go to the vet on Wednesday and have blood taken. And, you know, I think we're thinking it might be something along the lines of maybe diabetes or, you know, sort of like kidneys. She's definitely in and out going to the bathroom. She's just not that keen on food at the moment. And so the advice for just now is just to keep her fluids up, and that's quite easy because she's drinking really well, and to offer her bland food. And by bland food, that was just the Purina Pro plan. And instead of 2 meals a day, she gets 4 small meals a day. Those are the ones that she's really not interested in. But we're keeping her hydrated, and the vet suggested that we should probably just not get too over anxious about the lack of food intake or the decreased amount of food intake, and that we should make sure that whatever we're putting in isn't going to stress her digestive system. So that's what we're doing at the moment. And she'll be back at the vet on Wednesday. Caroline is keeping cozy in next door in her house because it's really chilly outside at the moment. I took Sizzle out just to go to the bathroom because we're kind of monitoring her to make sure that, you know, we are producing lots of urine and poo. So I took her out to the bathroom, then popped her back in. She was super speedy going back into the house because, quite frankly, it is very, very chilly. So, and Caroline's there looking after Sizzle, and she has Larky as well, obviously. I think Wanda was there too, now that I think about it. I have had a busy day. The job this afternoon was in Pilgrim House, and it's normally quite a good number there, but and it was Judy, Carol, and Janine that went. And I know that Willow and Larky went in Judy's car, and Janine took the trailer, and I think it was Magnus went in the trailer. Sally didn't go, and I'm not sure if the rabbit went. So I'm sure somebody can fill me in with that. That would be great. So, and Janine will have the numbers for who did that, who attended that. And our vet was here looking at the horses. He was doing a preliminary vet inspection for Ruby Sue. And Ruby Sue is mid-20s, and she's a bit of a mystery. She came in, Claudette inadvertently ended up with Ruby Sue. She used to volunteer where Ruby Sue lived, and spent a long time trying to train her how to drive and genuinely caring for her on a volunteer basis. And unfortunately, the people who lived in that home and barn, they moved down south. So poor Ruby Sue, who kind of surplused the requirement, ended up with each other basically. And so we don't really have much in the way of vet knowledge of Ruby Sue, but according to Dr. Parrott, who came to see her today, she's probably mid-20s, and the reason we don't know exactly what age she is because she has worn down, she has no front teeth left, and that's really the most accurate way to age a horse. So yes, so she's mid-20s. She's in fantastic condition. She's the perfect weight, and he said she was a really stunning little show pony. So Claudette has previously been working with Ruby Sue as a driving pony, and she's looking for a new instructor who will hopefully come here and help her get Ruby Sue really just in good driving order. And so that could be quite exciting. What Claudette really was keen to do, though, was to make sure that, firstly, that Ruby was in the best of health, which she is, and also to make sure that she was fit and healthy enough to train as a driving pony. But apparently her heart and lungs are fantastic. So Claudette's done an absolutely wonderful job for the last 4 years looking after this youngish lady, and looks like she's got plenty of time left to be out starting her new driving career. So that was very exciting. Then we had a look at our boy Arthur. Now our boy Arthur, I don't know if anybody remembers, but he came up dead lame on all 4 feet. So this was his follow-up appointment, and he is now not dead lame. In fact, he is fully functioning and back to rigorous health. His weight, Dr. Parrott's not particularly worried about it. When you see him running, because Dr. Parrott ran with him and I ran with him this afternoon, he's got the funniest gait. He runs and he's kind of knock-kneed. So when you watch him and you're looking for lameness in the feet or any problems with the legs, and when you watch him run, it's almost like a comedy run, and he's got these tiny little very long legs that are right underneath his body, and he runs like that. So with his knees knocking. So he's got quite a individual run, shall we say. And I did ask Dr. Parrott whether or not he was suitable for backing, so that he could be ridden or driving. And he said you could do whatever you wanted with this boy. So Arthur was not best impressed, and he just decided to go back to the paddock and have his afternoon snack. So that's really good news, because you always, when you bring in rescue donkeys, particularly mammoth rescue donkeys, Arthur came in with very sore legs, and you never know whether or not there's damage. He was a very withdrawn donkey. Jane spent a lot of time working with him. He came from South Carolina, and she spent a long time working with him when he was down in South Carolina, and then he came up here and he developed cellulitis, which is really nasty, particularly when you've got a donkey that doesn't like you touching his legs. So that was all fun and games. We treated the cellulitis successfully, and I think we're just super sensitive as to what goes on with his legs and his feet. So when he came up lame, we were like, oh no, this is a disaster, we'll need to get ahead of the game. So fortunately, the only thing that Dr. Parrott needed to do was watch him running, declared him fully sound, so we didn't have to have x-rays, which are quite costly, and or any invasive work done. So that's super news, and well done that, Arthur. So I'm really delighted to hear that he's just a little superstar. And what else has been happening? And so Ruby also had her teeth floated today, which is where when horses' teeth, they grow points and hooks, and they grow out from the teeth, from the molars, and then they hit off their cheeks, and they can, it's really very uncomfortable. And very often, one of the first points of action when you've got a very underweight horse that comes in, and or your horse becomes underweight, you check their teeth, because it's such an uncomfortable eating process when you've got these hooks and stabby bits at the side. So he had to get out not just the hand rasp, he had to use the electronic rasp, because Ruby's teeth are quite something. So she had the electronic rasp going in her mouth, which she wasn't best impressed, but Dr. Parrott gives them a calming agent, which makes them a bit dopey. So she was none the wiser for the majority of it. and then went off to eat grass. So I think that that worked very well. The other thing we have to we have to actually now watch is while she's at a grade 5 on the weight scale, she actually now that her mouth is comfortable, we do have to make sure that we don't all of a sudden have a horse that puts on a tremendous amount of weight because eating is so much easier. So there's always a flip side. So she's going to be under observation. So that was a very good afternoon all in. Nick is down doing my chores on Meredith because we have obviously quarantine on here, so I'm not, he's clean and I'm dirty because I've been here. So he's away off down to do Meredith this evening. And then he'll be back to do his ducks. And I will say, I did watch the ducks this afternoon. They all came off the pond, all 9 of them, and came running up, drank water out of the bucket, and then they took themselves off into the house. So I'm not sure where they are now or whether or not they're going to come in tonight, but they certainly decided to come in for a rest this afternoon. And the two chickens, the broody and the enormous chick, and Sally the turkey, they were out because there was a nice bit of sunshine this afternoon as well. Now, I better have a look at this. This is first off, the mosaic check came in today, which is super exciting and very much appreciated. So this is for October. That she eventually got very bad eyesight. So this is October's, and this is for the grand sum of $6,781.50. And thank you so very much. That is greatly appreciated, and keeps us moving in a forward direction, as opposed to a sideways or backwards direction, which is much appreciated. So thank you very much for that. Pop that in there. And then a letter came in today, and this is from Carol, and she's in Stoneham, Massachusetts. Yes, Stoneham, Massachusetts. And oh, that's very, very sweet. So thank you very much. She has sent us a very kind donation for here, and it says notes from a cat mom. This donation is in memory of my cat Max. Oh, thank you. God bless your work, caring for his creatures. Oh, well, in sea line means God loves you. Thank you very much, Carol. And I'm sorry to hear of Max's passing. Thank you. I'll pop this in here. And in my box, which I did track down, you'll be glad to hear. Thank you very much, Susan. We have, whoa. Aha! Treats in the canister for going out on outreach jobs, which are very much appreciated. Thank you so very much. That's what we run on, really. Okay. So thank you, Carol. No. Okay, let's go back up here. No. Oh, is Sizzle good? Is she drinking from the puddle? Somebody else said that to me. Yeah, let's have a little think about that. Thank you. Carlina's not wearing a mask when she goes on the jobs, and I think this is a tricky balance. It's not our body, and it's up to she has access to should she feel that she would like to. I do know as an asthmatic, I found the masks very, very difficult to wear. But, you know, you certainly, as an asthmatic, you certainly don't want to be picking anything up. And she's not unwell, she's just tired and cold and sitting in with Sizzle. So she's not here because she's picked something up from being out and about. She's just keeping cozy here. Oh, Ziggy went today as well. Oh, you were in charge, Carol. He's super fun. You just wheeled him around in his pram and he's so happy. He's such a fantastic rabbit. I know it's such a difficult thing, you know, the issue of the dogs drinking out of the puddles and you know, when my dogs drink out of the toilet, if you leave the toilet seat up, you know, it's everybody's in about it. It's one of these things, and I do know that they drink. We used to have a fountain in the garden. They used to drink from that. You know, they drink wherever they see fit, and it is a tricky thing. And even, you know, if it's not standing water in a puddle, you know, one of the tricky things is, you know, I was always taught that if you were out walking in the hills and you were thirsty, you don't drink from the stream because unless it's coming from the source, from the underground source, you have to trace it back up to that source because there could be a dead sheep lying in it further upstream. It's all these little things that you don't think about, but you know, it's a tricky one. Oh yes, that's it. That's the horse. That's Ruby Sue. Although I have to call her Ruby because if I start with the Sue part, I keep coming up with Curly Sue. It's ridiculous. So that's Miss Ruby Sue. And she was out. Claudette takes her out regularly. She lunges her in a circle in both directions, you know, to give her as much exercise as possible, keep her fit. So she and Claudette do a lot of walking and training. No, Dr. Barrett just had a quick look at them, but they're not particularly, none of the horses in the arena at this precise moment in time show any signs of anything other than, you know, they've been on trailers for a period of time. They don't have a nasal discharge, they don't have any abscesses, but they're being kept in quarantine to keep everybody else safe. So that's it. These are things that we just keep an eye on. But thank you for noticing. Ruby Sue, and this is lovely because we were just having a discussion with Dr. Parrott about Ruby Sue, and I asked him what colour, because she's brown and she's got a couple of little white feet, but she's got grey to her coat. Now that's a roan coat, and but she's not a blue roan, which is a sort of grey with white flecks, not patches, just like grey hairs coming through. She's a strawberry roan, and I haven't heard that colour descriptor since I was in the UK. I didn't think people used it over here. So she's a strawberry roan because there's a slight red tinge to her coat. So when you look at her, it's not she's dusty. It's that she has individual strands of white hair that come through the coat that make it into a roan coloured coat. Sally was out with the chickens today, so they're all in one area. The ducks wander off to the pond, and Sally then just hangs out with she hangs out with the two chickens. Although when I was over in the tea tent and Dr. Parrot and Claudette were working with Ruby Sue and her teeth, Sally was making a tremendous noise, and the chickens had gone inside and left her outside, so she wasn't best pleased. And everybody knew about it. So she does have companionship. I think the Cummings grant is just all rumbling on. It takes a long period of time. Yes, we're very lucky that Carol's joining us. And I think she's also going to the visit tomorrow morning. I haven't heard anything directly about Angus at the moment, but I'm sure Janine will ask. Oh, there you go. Hilda found them. Quartzshire Farm. The rescues do not have names at this precise moment in time. The two larger horses will not be staying with us, and the two minis are ours because they're coming into our facility. So we'll have to get some really nice names for them. Okay, so there we are. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Also trying to remember if it's Monday or Tuesday. Alright. Oh my goodness, what am I on? It is Monday. Where's me? Getting rid of my days. Yes, it's Monday today, obviously I knew that. So, what happened over the weekend? There was lots of fence work going on at the weekend. So the Dino house at the camera end, the fencing has been put back up because what we're hoping is that some of the chickens will go out on that area, and it allows them to be contained in a smaller area or let out into a larger area. The fencing that you probably can't see, but it keeps the goats pen separate from the loop around the pond. It's being replaced at the moment because I think maybe about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I know when Service Dog were here, there was a tree came down on that, and it lay for such a long period of time. It was also in the pond, and I think it was Wallace came to chop it up so that we could secure the access to the pond. And so now we're in the process of replacing the actual fence that keeps the pen away from the path around the pond, and that will allow the goats to have a more controlled area, because I know Carleen was concerned about the goats eating the grass around the pond, which I actually thought that they were doing quite a nice job, but she worries that the grass doesn't come back. So that allows us to keep them in an area separate from the grass, and then allow the grass to grow, and then we can pop the goats back out so we can we can graze them on a rotational basis. So that's quite exciting. And I'll tell you, the funniest thing about these blinking goats with horns, do they come in when it is bouncing down with rain or hail? No, they stand out there. But they come in during the day, beautiful sunshine, they come in during the day, they have a nibble of the hay, they have a wee lie down, and then they go back out. So there is no rhyme or reason to these guys, but they're perfectly happy. It's just, I don't know, maybe they like rain. It's, let's wait to see what happens when it snows. So, my dogs are doing beautifully, thank you. Noodles, Diana sent me a little device that you point and it emits a sound and it stops him barking. And it does actually seem to work with Noodles when he's in close range. When the little stinker goes to the bottom of the hill, it's not quite so effective. But I think it has actually stopped him barking quite so much, which is perfect because he has the most ear-piercing bark. And the rest of the dogs are doing just fine. I was saying to Carlene today, you know, we've been talking about Sizzle, and Sizzle was mine. And then I said to Nick last night, I said, what age are our Danes? And remember, I'm absolutely atrocious with figures. And he said, well, we got one in, I can't remember the years now, but we think our Danes, we think our male Dane, Arlo, he's black. We think he's about 6.5. And our female, Ella, she's a blue Dane, we think she might be about 7. So they're all kicking on in age. And then my other dogs, I've got 2 round about 5. Julius, who's a mini Aussie Shepherd crossed with a German Shepherd, and Gracie, who looks like a coyote when she's wet, basically. So I have no idea what breed she is. I think she's got Great Pyrenees in her, but she's stripy. She's a brindle dog with a curly tail. And she dances with her 2 front feet. Her 2 front feet have got white stockings on, so she dances like that. But she's probably about 5 as well. And she was my little lady that, and I was working with the people down in Alabama. She had been hit by a car. She'd been dumped at the side of an interstate. And I've lived at the side of the interstate for probably about 4 months. And then they couldn't catch her. And then eventually they got hold of her purely because she'd been hit by a car and hadn't been able to feed herself. So when she came in to the vet hospital, she was skinny, and she had to have one of her legs set, and all her cuts and sores sorted. So we weren't really very sure whether or not she would make it. So we decided that what we would do is we would fund her vet stay in the hospital, and then she came back into the rescue, and the rescue they kept her till she was a suitable weight to transport up, and then we picked her up, and she's been with us ever since. But she has a terrible habit of running. She's just a dog that has a habit of running. So she's, yes, we try not to let her out, but she's an absolute sweetheart. And then, of course, we have Noodles, Juniper, and Annie. And that's just the crazy gang. Because they rough house like nothing else. And we've only got 1 cockatiel at the moment. My other 3, they all passed away. They were rescued. We're not very sure how old they were. But I'm actively searching for another cockatiel to bring in. Because it's really quite sad. He sits in the sunroom, and he has his aviary is actually a cattery. You know these big, it's probably a bit longer than my outspread arms. He's got a massive aviary all to himself, and he sits there, and he jumps around on the branches, and he just sings his little heart out. And it's horrible because he's always had companions, and it's just like he's singing to see if anybody will answer him. It's breaking my heart. So that's why every time we're in Methuen, I say to Janine, can we go to the MSPCA? So I'm hoping to find a little partner for him. Poor wee soul. You know, I still have not checked for that light, Susan. I'll try and remember to do that. Wallace is super busy, but I'm hoping he's going to come and help me with my horse because I need it. Bigly. Yeah, she is beginning to feel a bit. I don't think Sizzle's. There's nothing pressing that's happening. She's just, she's a bit subdued. So it looks like it's something internal that's maybe feeling a little bit off. So I'm sure once they do the blood work on Wednesday with the vet that we'll get a far clearer picture. We have considered lights as sensors, and in fact, I can tell you now my husband has a thing about lights with sensors. The problem we have here is that when you have them in the barn, there's too much activity and they go on and off, and that can become quite irritating. One of the lights outside the G tent, the little aisle where Carlene's car sometimes sits, it's outside the G tent and the T tent. And there's actually a light with a sensor there, and that's how somebody knew that the rabbit was out there, because the sensor light kept going on and off. So yeah, so we have some, but we don't keep them in the barn because otherwise it's problematic. The camera lights do go on to nighttime mode after a certain time, and in fact at the moment that camera in there, because I was just in there doing the goat, that camera is actually on nighttime mode at the moment, so that was just before 5 o'clock, and that it's like the same light for whatever reason, and I can't quite work this out in my head because it doesn't work this way. It looks like a night light, but that night light allows you to see the animals in the barn as if it was, you know, we had a light switch on, but it's actually on nighttime mode. Modern technology, honestly, it's fantastic stuff. I have not heard from Uncle Bud. I'm hoping he's nearly coming back. Areas where people walk. Yeah, we've got them up at the house, because otherwise I fall over things. Again, it's one of those really tricky things because, you know, they do have a tendency with the amount of, you know, trees that go back and forward, they go on and off, and yeah, and we certain areas we have to try and run electricity. You know how exciting that is. But yes, there's a lot of areas that I find it really difficult actually coming out of the barn at night time because it's pitch dark. So if you're on a nighttime mode camera, you'll see me splashing through the puddles. It's not deliberate because I just get caught unawares by puddles. And I think the one thing that we should probably all do is be carrying torches, but we do have torches, we put them down and we forget where they are, and yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get more information as to what's going on with Sizzle on Wednesday. But she's a bit subdued, but it's not. There's nothing that you can put your finger on. So we'll go and see. Oh no, I didn't say he wasn't coming back. I said I'm hoping he's nearly coming back to the farm. We did get the fountains out at the weekend, which was a relief. So we've got that done. That's just another job ticked off the list. And yeah, so that's us. So I don't think there are any more questions. Oh, here's some. No, just saying good night. Okie dokie. So we'll be back tomorrow. So it's Tuesday. What day was Tuesday? Don't ask why. And I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. Night night.